to the ADCLOD podcast series with social impact founders, an initiative by the Ashank Desai Centre for Leadership and Organisational Development at IIM Ahmedabad, where we document and celebrate the leadership journeys of India's homegrown social entrepreneurs and institution builders who have dedicated their lives to solving the country's most intractable problems. In today's episode, we speak with Saroj Mahapatra, Executive Director of PRADAN, one of India's most respected rural development organizations, and a leader who has spent nearly 3 decades working directly with the most marginalized communities in central and eastern India. PRADAN, founded by Padma Shri Award winner Deep Joshi and Vijay Mahajan, an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad, has over the 4 decades grown into a strong organization of university-educated professionals working across 8 of India's poorest states, reaching nearly 3.4 million families. PRADAN pioneered the self-help group 1987, 3 years after it was set up, long before it became a mainstream government program, and has since shaped the design of flagship national programs like MGNREGA and the National Rural Livelihoods Mission. Today, PRADAN's SHGs generate over millions in gross annual livelihood output for rural communities. Saroj Mahapatra holds a Masters of Engineering in Hydraulics and Irrigation from UCE Burla in Orissa and joined PRADAN as a young professional. He rose through roles in community mobilization, state integration, and thematic leadership in climate-resilient infrastructure and natural resource management in Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. Before being appointed the Executive Director in April 2022, he has worked with WFP, IFAD, UNICEF, and the World Bank, and has been instrumental in building multi-stakeholder frameworks for rural development with both state and central governments. We are delighted to have Saroj with us today. Saroj, thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure and honor to be able to speak to you.
Thank you, Professor Neharika. I think this is a very good opportunity for organization like PRADAN and to have interaction with IIM Ahmedabad and ADCLOD. So I think I must thank you and the entire team of IIM Ahmedabad for this unique opportunity to share our experience and share and learning with others. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So IIM Ahmedabad in a way is quite indebted to PRADAN because IIM Ahmedabad, Vijay Mahajan, Deep Kalra were the first ones to start about it right after their graduation. So question today, Saroj, to you is, could you give us what PRADAN looks like today? Its scale, the states it operates in, the communities it serves, the range of programs, and the nature of your team and field professionals. So it'd be nice to hear more about what PRADAN is doing currently.
You know, PRADAN is started in 1983. It is a 43-year-old organization. I'm glad to share that we are working with more than 3.4 million households at present. Our major presence is in the central India, where the states like Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, West Bengal, part of South Rajasthan, and so these are the states where we've been working very intensively since last 35-40 years. And recently we have started our work in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and then part of Maharashtra, this Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. So we have initiated the work in Maharashtra. So at present we are working in 10 states in the selected 145 blocks and more than 40,000 villages. So our major focus is on rural livelihoods. Rural livelihoods is not only about income, but I think strengthening the community institutions plus helping them, enable them to go for large-scale transformation in their own areas. So that is one of our biggest strengths. Recently, we have completed our perspective planning exercise. We generally do the perspective planning for a period of 5 to 7 years. So this year, this plan is up to 2030, and we are visualizing a very ambitious goal of impacting the lives of 50 million rural households, 50 million lives. So that means near about 10 million rural households. And there are 4 priorities areas. Like one is the strengthening the livelihoods. When we talk about livelihoods, it comprises of farm-based livelihoods, non-farm-based livelihoods, and entrepreneurship of farm-based livelihoods also. And second is the climate action, where we are talking about ecological restorations, then large-scale land and water-based interventions. And third priority area is the gender equality, where strengthening the women's voice and agencies and women collectives. So that has been one of our, initial days we have been working around SHGs.
Yes.
And fourth priority area is around the nutrition and health. WAS program, the water sanitation and hygiene program. So these are the 4 priorities areas where we have been intervening since from the very beginning, and that is going to be the national priorities also, like as we see the national priorities. And we are organized into various teams. So we call them a direct action teams. Like PRADAN professionals used to be placed at the block and the district level in the selected districts. So there are at present 70 direct action teams in the selected 10 states, where our near about 1,500 staffs are being deployed around these areas. And they are working directly with the community collectives and also with other ecosystem actors like government and civil society organizations and the donor agencies. Apart from that, we have placed near about 100 professionals in the various government departments, at the district level, state level, and the national level. So there are formal partnerships. So I'll be talking about this in very details. I think this is where we stand as of now.
Wonderful. PRADAN, even as the name is saying, professional assistance for development action, that is what it's a short of, right? What it stands for. It was founded on a distinctive idea that the best educated young professionals in India, engineers, managers, scientists, they should choose to work not in corporations but alongside the rural poor. As someone who made the choice yourself, doing hydraulic engineering and then joining PRADAN, what drew you to PRADAN? What was it about that founding conviction that felt so true to you?
So I joined PRADAN in 1996, just after my campus study in MTech in hydraulics and irrigation engineering. So at that time, I have very limited knowledge about the development sector. To be very frank, like when I went to the villages, and at that time it was Bihar actually, it's not Jharkhand. So undivided Bihar. So when I went to the villages and see the level of poverty, so I think at that time we thought there are like-minded people within the organizations like PRADAN, and then we can contribute a lot to these rural marginalized communities. So this is the basic fundamental thinking at that time. And then over a period of time, it is like I got energy while working with the community and other stakeholders. We got recognition also. And at the same time, the smiles in the face of the rural poor actually is one of the most motivating factors for me. And at the same time, PRADAN, like the culture and climate of PRADAN, like-minded people. So there were people from IIM, there were people from IITs, so very highly educated people, but working directly at the grassroots. So it's a unique organization in that sense. At that time, no organizations were like that. Like such a high level of qualified people, they work directly with the communities. So in that sense, it's the opposite of the normal practice.
Correct.
Normal practice, I say, because generally the educated people who pass from various reputed institute, they take the managerial role or the supervisory role. But here the high quality human resources, as you said, engage directly with the community at the grassroots level. So interfacing with the community. So that is the core idea of PRADAN, like giving back to the society. Since I am very much educated, how I can giving back to the society my knowledge, and then the empathetic engagement is very critical. The empathetic engagement with the community, if I can put myself in their shoes, they are much more stronger than us. Like the vulnerabilities they are going through and the level of challenges that they are going through, the resilience, I think all those things matters a lot. And second part is one of the founding philosophy was that like capable and caring people like PRADANite who can contribute a much more rather than the material resources. So the human resources are more critical rather than the material resources. It's not like material resources are not important, but I think the if the human resources the people from highly educated people who can give their head, heart and head. So all three heads can, if they can be harmonized, then nothing can be, more than that actually. So that is the
For sure.
that is the core founding philosophy of PRADAN, and around that we really build people to build people. So building people to build people was one of our mission statement during the initial days.
Wow. And what is it now?
It's the improving the livelihoods, impacting the livelihoods of the rural communities. To enable the rural community. So in that sense, we work with the rural communities. So to enable them, and then impacting livelihoods is the main sector.
Okay, great. Also, in my introduction, I mentioned that Pradhan was a pioneer in self-help groups in India. Since then, a lot more has happened in the field, but it was a pioneer, and it started in, I think, Alwar, Rajasthan in 1997. Right? So what led to the creation of the self-help, and what has been its growth path since then?
So at that time in 1987, when at that time I did not join Pradhan, but I know the history. So we first started the SHG in Alwar district of Rajasthan, and then in Godda in the same year itself we initiated the self-help group program in the Godda district of Bihar at that time. Now it's in Jharkhand. So these groups were formed around three basic principles. So one is these are efficacious group based on the homogeneous community and then hamlet level groups. So there are three broad contours. So one is the mutual help. How the members can help each other to build a cohesive group. That is number one. And second is the financial intermediation part. Because many times they go to the money lenders, and then for small things like 500,000 rupees go to the money lenders, local money lenders. But at that time, the banks were not very, bank linkage, SHG's program were not very systematized. After this RBI circular in 1992, so it was systematized. So second part was the financial intermediation part. Like if the self-help group members can save on a weekly basis, and that money can be rotated, and depending on the need of the individual member, they can take the credit from the, doorstep credit would be available. So financial intermediation is the second part. And third is the empowerment, where we talk about the, women economic empowerment, livelihoods, markets, all those things are there. So these are the three factors around which the self-help groups program was started. Then over a period of time, government took up this program. So in 90s, 98, 99, and then 2000, the special SDSY program came. Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarkar Yojana. And then in 2010-11, this National Rural Livelihood Mission program came. So these were based on these basic principles, like how to universalize like the women SHG members, and how we can create the self-help groups at a very large scale. So that because when we were working, that scale component was not there. But when government took off, scale component was there. But basically the components were inbuilt in the program. But when we are working on a very large scale, so this mutual help and the cohesive group or the affinity factors, I think there are lots of space to intervene in those areas. So nowadays, if I say about because we have been involved in the NRLM program since from the very beginning.
Correct.
But all the verticals are there, like integration of gender, nutrition, inclusion, are the most vulnerable households, how they can be included. Similarly, livelihoods, universalization, market linkage. So every vertical is there. But how the vertical can talk to each other, I think that is one level of challenge. And second part is, how these organizations can be more gender responsive and gender transformative. So I think these interventions are needed now.
Okay. Yes. And that is possibly why for the next 4 years, that is also one of your mission, or one of the areas that you're looking at.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
So we are involved in the NRLM around the livelihood resource organization. So there are formal MOUs with the Ministry of Rural Development and at the state level also. So our people are there, and then they are working with the system to include our learning in the very large scale.
I see. Okay. So, Pradhan's work spans a large amount, like the natural resource management, Tussar Silk, irrigation, Rega, mobilization, climate resilient agriculture. What has been your logic of connecting some of these diverse strands in the village level?
So the approach has been like, first part is the social mobilization part, where we used to mobilize the community, and nowadays government used to mobilize the community. Initially PRADAN used to do that, and PRADAN, and there were other organizations like MyRada and FES, so all those organizations are there, so they used to mobilize the community. So social mobilization is the first step, and second strategy was like context specific livelihood solution. I mean, it's not a copy-paste type of model. If some model is working in Maharashtra, so that cannot be copy-pasted in the areas in Chhattisgarh. But I think the principles can be adopted, the processes can be adopted. So resource development is the second step, where we used to work with the community to understand what are the existing resources they are having and what could be the possibilities. So there is a very simple framework that we are adopting. Like, what is the present situation of the, it starts with the woman member of the household, then it talks about the household, because woman member does not necessarily be the household. They are the independent member, their identity as an individual, and then the household. Then we talk about the village, then we talk about the area, and then sector. So there are 5 factors to be considered. In each of the segment, we generally see what is the present situation as of now, then what is the desired end state. Like, we do a very detailed visioning exercise with the community and with the stakeholders. So what is the desired end state, and then what are the gaps. Suppose the farmers is saying like, we are doing only cultivation of rice, but we want to do 300% cropping intensity. So that is the desired state. So from monocropping to 300% cropping intensity, so what are the gaps? The gaps are like, they will say, yes, we do not have any irrigation facilities, or we do not have any conservation structures, the surface runoff is very high. Then these are the, say, gaps. To mitigate the gaps, what could be the intervention point? So these are very simple, structure, but very powerful tool, where we try to intervene with the community in a very, and these are now very standardized. So government functionaries and the other CSOs are also doing like this. So the second part, I was talking about the resource development and the area development. And third part is the production and productivity frontiers. Like suppose in the places where we are working, it's like the productivity frontier is very less. It's 1/3 of the national average. So lots of space to intervene in the productivity by improving the technologies, by improving the practices. So community resource persons and all those things can be integrated in the entire portfolio. And fourth part is the market and entrepreneurship. So linking them to the markets once the production and productivity are stabilized. So these are the 4 components around which we generally try to intervene. And initially when we worked in 1990s, so at that time our focus was purely thematic focus, like irrigated agriculture, self-help group programs, rain-fed agriculture, so all those thematic areas were there. But over a period of time, we understood like the area situation should be the focus. Like, we need to take up an area and then see what is the context, and then how the contextual livelihood solutions can be derived. So, for example, you mentioned about the Tussar sericulture. Additionally, in the forest fringe areas in Santhal Pargana or Bihar, so they were doing this Tussar sericulture. But we with the help of Central Seal Board and Ministry of Textile, we introduced the improved technologies, and then now the production and productivity frontiers have gone up, and then we are intervening in the entire value chain now. It's an end-to-end interventions now. So that is why our livelihood portfolios are very large, but at the same time it is very much suitable to the context, and then people's need, people priorities, and then what is their aspirations and what are the opportunities available in the local areas. Accordingly, our livelihoods baskets are being finalized.
I see. Very good. So what you said was very interesting, because what you said that the methodology that you have developed, of course, has evolved, but it has also become a standard methodology with the government, with other people who work in the development field. So that in a way is a contribution you are making because of your deep work with the villages, not just to the families at the village level, but also in how work is done in the sector. So that's very interesting. Also, the communities that PRADAN serves, are predominantly Adivasi, Dalit, most marginalized households in the central and eastern India, among those most complex development contexts in the country. What has the work taught to you about poverty in these communities, and what does development actually require beyond income and livelihoods?
Yeah. So this is a very important question, I think, Professor Neharika, that you are asking. So generally, when people talk about livelihoods, they talk about the either Lakpati Didi or only about the income management. But income is necessary, but that is not sufficient. So when we talk about the livelihood, the basic assumption is that it has to be driven from the community itself. It should not be driven from the top-down approach. It should be bottom-up approach. Community action and community stewardship is the key to drive any change and any change to sustain. Being level changes are very critical in the sense, like when generally when I talk about before 20 years back, when I directly work with the community, at that time generally this South Chhattisgarh area or say in Jharkhand area, so they say कि से तो नहीं होगा, I cannot do this. But over a period of time, by continuously working with them, learning by doing, and then they say कि yes, I can do this. So I cannot do to I can do. I think this is the change in the mindset actually. This capability is one of the critical things in the livelihood promotion. Apart from asset creation, apart from say knowing level changes. So there are 3 level of changes that we are looking for around the livelihoods. So one is the being level change, which is very critical. Second is the knowing level change. I mean, bringing the knowledge, bringing expertise, bringing technical knowledge. So all those things are very critical. And third part is the doing level changes. I mean, if I can do all these things. So all 3 are very much essential for doing any types of livelihoods and to sustain these livelihood interventions. And the second part is that when we talk about this community taking charge, I mean, CTC is cost to company, but at the same time, community taking charge is also, I think, this is one of the things. So in our grassroots engagement methodology, we generally talk about the sense of agency of the collectives. So it's not the agency of collectives, because measuring the agency is difficult, but I think the sense of agency of the collective, I mean, if they can think they are capable,
correct,
then they will be capable.
That's right.
So the change in the mindset of the people is very critical. So we talk about when we livelihood promotion, we generally talk about a 5A framework. So I will explain what is 5A framework. So the first A is the access to various rights and entitlements. So suppose PDS, pension, and all those things are the entertainment. Or say initially it was MG Nariji and now this Jiramji is there. So these are all the entitlements actually. And second is the asset base. I mean, asset base of that individual household and asset base of the village. And third is the attitude. Attitude of that individual person matters a lot. And fourth is the ability, which is the being part of that individual. If she can think, yes, I have the ability to do the things, then she can do the things. And fifth part is the assurance, where the organizational like PRADAN or the setup is there. So they assure you, like, you take the risks. We are there for the initial years. So learning by doing things, I think that can be ensured. So this 5-way framework is very critical to understand how the families are taking decisions at present and how over a period of time, what is the delta change in each of these actually.
Wonderful. So before I come to understanding how you work as an organization, I want to, one of the reflections I had as you were speaking was that it's so sad that when there is a prolonged sense of lack of anything, the agency goes down. My sense of ability goes down, and the fact that you work with it, it's quite interesting. So very often, in our own conversations, we say how privilege shapes us, but lack of privilege also shapes people in a certain way, and that's interesting for us to attend to. Now, PRADAN has very often stated that its aim is to eventually withdraw. Once somebody is capable, then they don't need to be there. So 2 questions around it. One is, have you actually withdrawn from certain villages because they are now ready? But also the fact is that the sheer number of villages in India is so large that will you ever be able to withdraw completely, because you finish one and then there's the other that starts to come.
So this is a very interesting question. Generally, we Um, while negotiating with the funder, we generally used to face this question. What is your withdrawal exit strategy? But generally in Pradhan, we call them as a graduation roadmap because nobody can exit from an area.
Correct.
Because if you see a bank in the local area, so nobody is asking the bank to withdraw from that area. They are a permanent
Correct.
entity in that, whether that is Grameen Bank or State Bank or private, nationalized bank or anything. So in Pradhan case, basically we have been discussing these issues. So initially we used to work in 50 villages, but now in 10,500 villages we are working directly. So the question is the intensity is, if you have only say 1,500 people who are working at the grassroots, is it possible to go to the individual households? It's not possible. So one part is our unit of engagement is collective. So that is the principle that we derived. Our unit of engagement is collective, be at the grassroots level, it's the say self-help groups or the village organizations or the cluster level federations. And second part is that our engagement is shifting. Like initially what happened is we used to do the training everything, like bookkeeping ka bhi training we used to do, or say accounts ka training or the technical training. But nowadays we have built the people who can do the training on our behalf or on other stakeholders' behalf. So that engagement is continuously changing. Yeah. So in that sense, there are many graduated collectives who are taking charge of their own affairs. So there are 92 farmer producer organizations, which is the economic collectives of women. So these are all registered entities. So they are not dependent on Pradhan now. Similarly, the broiler poultry cooperatives, NSPDT, it is running by its own. Initially, we provided the handholding support for the period of say 7-8 years. Now it's an independent entity, and in the entire India now, if you see the broiler poultry business, SPTT is the highest one in case of the smallholder poultry farmers in terms of the volume of turnover and volume of productions.
I see.
So it's going on in Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand. So there are entities who are taking charge of their own lives and livelihoods, and they are not dependent on Pradhan. Similarly, in some of the teams in like Hazaribagh, Madhya Pradesh, we have withdrawn from that area because that community collectives, in terms of the cluster level federations, so they are now thinking of their own, and then they've been groomed in such a way that they're taking they're taking the linkages from the various departments, taking the help from the various departments to build the linkages, and also they are concerned about the individual households, and they're doing a very detailed livelihood planning and also implementing the plan. So that is how this graduates and federations means actually. So in that sense, our engagements are changing.
Yes. So it is not a model where you're feeding continuous dependence.
And second part is just I would like to add on this point, like we are doing internally this longitudinal study of the households and the villages where we've been working since last say 15 years. Similarly, some of the funding agencies were very much aligned with these ideas, and then like the Axis Bank Foundation, so they've been supporting us in a certain geographies for a period of say 15 years.
I see.
So recently they did an independent study by engaging some outside agencies, and that results is quite it encouraging. It talks about the quality of lives of the individuals, including the leisure time, not only income but leisure time is leisure time with women farmers. So this type of data are now coming, quality of lives, then control over income, then assets in the name of women. So these are some of the indicators and very relevant indicators where the study is study highlights around these aspects.
And some of these studies are publicly available?
Yeah, the donor agency studies are not publicly available, but in our website, there are many studies where this quality of life and all the impact reports are available.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now coming to how Pradhan operates. So the whole model depends on recruiting some of India's best educated young professionals, engineers, MBAs, agronomists, people like you, and convincing them to spend their careers in remote tribal villages rather than in cities or corporations which have glitz and glamour. So how do you find those people? What does it take to hold them on to the organization? And what are some of the ways in how you reward them?
So this is the core offering of Pradhan is Pradhanite. Actually, it if you ask what is the offering of Pradhan, core offering of Pradhan, it's the people of Pradhan.
Acha.
Because, so Pradhan was started around this idea like capable and caring people are very much required to do the transformational work at the grassroots level. And building people is one of our major focus. So we invest a lot around this building people, whether it is inside Pradhan or outside at the community level or at the government level or CSO level. So
I see.
We have a very structured program called the development apprenticeship phase. So that is for a period of 1 year, and generally we recruit people from various premier institutes. Initially, usually go to the IIM also, but nowadays they are not coming because of the salary structure. But I think we are going to most of the NITs in India, the IIFM and then TIS and other institutes, agricultural universities. So best students who we generally used to go in every year. So this is number one. And second is we have a very good recruitment process. So there are near about 100 plus recruiters who generally goes to the campus and then do the recruitment. And on an average, we used to recruit near about 150 to 170 students every year per year. So that's a big number in the current narratives, I can say.
Yes.
And then I'm very proud to say that near about 4,000 plus people have gone through this development apprenticeship phase. And 90% of these people are in the sector.
I see.
So that is one of the biggest contribution of Pradhan. And some of these organizations promoted by former Pradhanite, they are also doing well. So there are 21 organizations which are promoted by Pradhanite. I mean, they are not in Pradhan, but they are with the Pradhan idea. So that is the one of the beauty of Pradhan. And second part I would like to highlight is the development apprenticeship program, where generally the students gets an opportunity to explore the village life and at the same time to explore self. Because many a times these students come from the city area, they have very little exposure to the rural life. But once they go and see the life of the villagers from their perspective, then the overall this thinking processes changes, and then they can contribute a lot. So after 1 year, they became executive in Pradhan. And then this staff development for all the category of staff, we have a very detailed HR program. So we spent near about 15-20% of our investments and of our time to build people actually. So in that sense, it's a very human processual centric organization, and it's a learning organization. So we're learning from our past failures and learning from the achievements also. At the same time, here, good thing is that one will get an opportunity to explore self. So every day is a very unique day in Pradhan, but at the same time, सब दिन एक learning होता ही है. So the basic belief is that professional with empathy can work with the community and other stakeholders to transform their lives and livelihoods. So that empathetic engagement is very critical, and over a period of time, people used to learn like how to facilitate a group meeting, how to do a achievement dialoguing with the community. So these are some of the very intensive training, like the case teaching method or achievement motivation training, or say this group processes training. So all those trainings are being planned with the external faculties also. Professors from IIM Ahmedabad, they were in IIM Ahmedabad initially, and then from IRMA. So they used to give training to us like around livelihoods, the local area economy, circular economy. So all of we learn from them actually, and apply those learning at the community level, so that the learning can be more sharper.
Of course, yes. And would you say that in the recent years, the attraction of the youth to come to Pradhan has gone up or gone down?
So it's like in the COVID time, we faced some challenges. Though we recruited online, but we faced some of the challenges because the village study in local area economy, so we faced challenges. But in the recent times, like during the last 4-5 years, if I can say, the trend has gone off actually.
Wonderful.
Like people are coming to Pradhan. Even I was very surprised, like some of the career people who were working in say software companies, good software companies, they are also coming and then exploring the areas in the rural areas. So one part is the internal culture climate of Pradhan, but at the same time, the second part is the freedom to do the things and at the same time the workspace, work-life balance, so everything is here. And at the same time our package is almost at par with the market. So I think there won't be any struggle for any newcomers in that sense.
Wonderful. So when you hire people, when you start to look out to hire people, do you give special weightage on empathy, their understanding of the community, or are you looking at their technical competence?
So there are three aspects when we generally used to recruit people. So one is obviously the intellectual maturity, which generally comes from the written test and everything. I mean, intellectually this should be mature. At the same time, we see another two factors, which is called the social maturity and the emotional maturity. I mean, how mature we are in a social context, in a group context.
I see.
Or at the same time, the emotional maturity. But at the same time, the empathy thing, it's something which is, I think, can be developed over a period of time. It's not like that if the people are not empathetic, they cannot be empathetic in future also. So there is a very difference between empathy and sympathy. Generally, the people are sympathetic, but they are not empathetic.
Empathetic, yeah.
But with guided training, and then because this first 1 year is the very intense training that we generally give to the development apprentices. So there, I think, by staying in a village, by staying with the community, they develop that kind of affinity, that kind of love, and then that kind of understanding about that community. Because whenever we want to work in a village, we need to understand their context, we need to understand that people actually first, rather than trying the thing from our side. So that is the fundamental shift actually. And generally, many a times we used to give the solutions without understanding the problems. But if we understand the problem, then 70-80% of the solutions are already over actually. And people can do their things. So we generally focus like the empathetic engagement can be developed over a period of time, but it requires that application of the self and then efforts from one side. Then only it can be developed.
So I'm just curious how some of the curriculum for the 1-year program has evolved, right? So was it obviously this itself would have undergone a lot of changes?
Yeah. So when I joined PRADAN, so at that time the curriculum was very different. Very different in the sense fundamentally there was no different, like working with the community, going to the villages. Working very intensively with engaging with them. But at the same time, I think over a period of time there was structured curriculum, like the building the gender perspective into the curriculum. So there were gender courses by our faculty. So in all it's like first 3 months is the staying at the village level, understanding the rural context, understanding the village life, and to explore self, like whether I am capable of doing this or not. Because my friends are there in the corporates or say in many other enjoying the city life, but whether I can enjoy the rural life or not. So that is the first 3 months phase. And then after 3 months, there is a structured 15 days classroom session, like the development perspective, overall evaluation of PRADAN, and then overall this development sector. So this 15 days program classroom sessions is there. And the second phase is actually the learning by doing phase. So I work with the community to learn the things. So learning by doing the things. And then over a period of like 11 months, and again this foundation course we call them. Again a central event on this foundation course for all the cohorts. So to say the batch size is near about 70 to 100 students. So accordingly we organize the event for them. So over a period of time, say this program was started in 1990s. So and we are still carrying out this program, and then with an increased number. Like in our batch, there were only 5 people. Now the batch size is around minimum is 100.
Wow. So you're also able to develop this curriculum and deliver it at scale.
Yeah, we can. I think we can discuss this because this is a very unique program.
Yes.
Which is contributing to the sectors, and even if you go to any government, departments or say any funding agency, you'll see 1 or 2 Pradhanite who have gone through this program.
Wow, very good, very good. I'm also just curious, with the fact that you have professionals who work on these problems, on the various problems, are you also contributing to the knowledge of colleges and professors, because very often we have very Western framing of our problems. We have one way of we think this is the way to solve, but with the kind of deep work that in the villages, in the communities, are you also feeding back to the academia in terms of possibly looking at different ways of solving these problems?
We are discussing with many institutions, like IIT Delhi. We had a discussion, and then they have a program called the Center for Rural Development.
Yes.
So CRDT, Center for Development of Transformation is a So rural transformation, yeah. When we discussed, then they were very much interested, and then they went for an exposure visit for all their students. It was a 7-day field exposure visit to Jharkhand.
Okay.
Similarly, other institutes like TIS and then other institutes there, the people are coming from the internship program. But at the same time, I think the point which you shared, it's a very good point. I think we can, we are partnering with many universities to do a study or say impact study or like that. But I think how we can contribute to their overall curriculum, and then so that's a idea which we need to think. I think with Ambedkar University, we did a course around this development practice, and with the help of Tata Trust. So there we did some of these things. But we are planning to initiate the rural fellowship program. So we are exploring various possibilities, but I think we'll discuss with IIM Ahmedabad also, like whether this is possible or not, because rural fellowship program would be a very much interest where I think institution and the PRADAN like institution and the educational institution, they can collaborate to bring more quality students to the development sector and orienting them.
Yeah. See, that of course is one issue, but also I am sure how to do irrigation in a certain area, what kind of cross farming is possible, and so forth. Very often that curriculum itself is very outdated in the universities because it's not based on actual contextual knowledge, and that is where I was thinking it would be very useful if you all can bring back some of that, but maybe a conversation at another time.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I think that would be a very great support to us.
Also, let me ask this question that, because PRADAN, what is the mode of funding for PRADAN? Who funds it? How to fund it?
So there are two types of fund, Professor Neharika. Like one is the development support cost, which is actually the salary, travel, overheads and admin overhead of PRADAN. And second is the program cost. Program cost is generally the program, the work of the, suppose we are planning to implement a lift irrigation schemes in a village. The cost of lift irrigation is the program cost.
Correct.
So generally, as a matter of principle, what we do is like we generally take the program fund from the government, and that fund is directly going to either to the village organizations or the SHGs or to the panchayat, not through PRADAN books of accounts. Because it's the government money, and we are designing program how to leverage various flagship program like NRLM, or say initially it's what MGNRG, now GRAMG, and then say PMKSY. So there are many flagship programs which are designed for the rural transformation. So we are leveraging the program funds from there. And the development support cost, so generally we got this funding from the CSR fundings are there, which contributes near about 50-55% of the PRADAN Center funding. And then some of the philanthropic organizations are there, Tata Trust and Azim Premji Foundation. So these are all philanthropic organizations. Similarly, some of the very good foreign contributors are there, like Gates Foundation or IKEA Foundations, Walmart Foundation. So they are there who generally believes in PRADAN's idea. Our ideas are in alignment, so they generally support the work of PRADAN. So near about there are 30% are coming from the foreign contributions, and rest are the government funding.
I see. And are there some clashes or delicate balancing that you have to do because there are so many stakeholders, so many funders?
So I think this is a practical issue, but if you see the overall the financial resilience of PRADAN, so like we need some of the untied corpus, unrestricted fund, where we can, experiment and then build the prototypes, build the models. So we have unrestricted support from some of the very good funding agencies.
I see.
And then, so we do experiment and then building the prototypes in a certain regions. And we always believe that like the projects are only the means to achieve the end goals.
Yes.
So projects should not be the end goal. Many a times what happens is like I have seen many NGOs generally it takes project because we are working with more than 100 NGOs like in various capacities, like there are government partnerships where mega ideas are being implemented. So generally when they get the funding, they used to hire the people. But in Pradhan, it's the other way around. We used to recruit people first. So when we have very good people and very good ideas around to implement on the ground, then the funding generally comes. And generally all our fundings are aligned with our priority areas. Like suppose someone is planning to give us funding for say working in the urban areas. So we are not interested in that because our priorities are very much fixed in the rural areas, livelihoods, collectives, gender, nutrition, climate actions. So around these ideas, we generally used to seek who are the potential funders and we can contribute to these ideas. I am very glad like in the livelihood space, rural livelihood space, the funders, there has been an increase in the number of funders. So in Pradhan's case also, if you see the last 3 years trend, so we've been analyzing this. So the financial growth have been near about 17 to 20% per year. So it's a very substantial growth. And similarly, our outreach and the livelihood interventions growth is around again 20-25%.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay.
So they are complementing each other in that sense instead of competing each other.
Yes, but that's also a skill that you must be building in your own team so that you help them to actually complement rather than compete with each other.
Yeah, and many times I have seen like hundreds are if we can treat them as partners. It's difficult to treat them as partners in some cases, but I think if we can treat them as partners because they are also interested in the very tangible, very tangible output, transformational things at the grassroots level. So if we can convince them, if we can influence them by showing some good works around the big ideas, so I think funding won't be a problem.
Right.
So that is my experience and that has been very strong conviction of Pradhan.
Does Pradhan ever say that they want to be fully sustainable, they don't want to attract and they should be able to work without any external funding? Does Pradhan ever say that, or maybe it's not even a relevant conversation?
No, I think that's a part of financial resilience.
Right.
Like if you say like if you have a very good corpus funding,
right,
you can use that interest for building the narratives. But I think so there are three parts. One part is the building the narratives. Second part is the shaping the narrative. One, you build the narrative, how you can shape this narrative in other stakeholders.
Correct.
And third part is shifting the narrative. So from buildings to shaping to shifting, I think there has been lots of experience in Pradhan. And for that, I think we need to invest on the funding agencies and then we need to get funding from various donors. And nowadays, the CSR space is a very good space. They also look for very good agencies, very good institutional capacity who can deliver, and the ability to deliver and the credibility matters a lot. I was for example, I was discussing with one of the donor agencies. They said that last year we introduced we gave funding to 17 new NGOs. So I asked, then the growth has been might have been very substantial because 17 new NGOs it's a very substantial number. Then they said it's not like giving funding to NGOs. So if we fund is not the only solution. You can give funding to NGOs, but it all depends on the institutional capacity of that NGOs to implement the things. Correct. It's not like if funding then se kaam ho jayega. It's not like that. But again they said, like in Pradhan case, your case is very different because even if there is a dropout of say % at various levels, but since you are inducting new people, so they are bringing new perspective, correct, new energy. So implementation and the delivery is not at all a problem for Pradhan because your grassroots strength remains the same because every year you are recruiting new people. Yes. So I think that's a biggest compliment to Pradhan.
Very good.
From their perspective.
Yeah, and also as you said that one of the contributions of Pradhan is a Pradhanite, right? That you have constantly been producing. So, there are in many of our conversations that we've had on this podcast, one of the concerns has been that, the sometimes becomes the bottleneck for the organization, because once their vision, their wanting to be in control becomes the bottleneck. But Pradhan actually is a very good example, because the founders are no longer in executive roles, and you are sitting here who has started at the beginning and now are in the executive role. Would you share a little bit more about this? How does it transact? How did it feel when the founders left? And how has Pradhan been able to continue without a hitch?
So I think when Deep and Vijay this started Pradhan, so Vijay left in the year 1992, 91-92. Then he started then other organizations. Deep Joshi, so he retired in 2006-7.
Correct.
So Pradhan, one of the good thing is that it's not dependent on one person. Unlike many of the smaller NGOs or mid-sized NGOs, where it is very much founder-centric. But I think we have a very decentralized system of leadership. Like I said, like 70 direct action teams are there. So each team is like a smaller NGO. So there are non-negotiables, and their values, beliefs, practices, behaviors, so everything are there. So there is a very good internal governance system.
I see.
So where we used to review like what we could have done differently, whether since we are growing big, whether we are sticking to the non-negotiables or not.
Okay.
So these are very important for a organization like Pradhan, where it is not governed by the external agencies, but the internal governance is very strong. So once you give the responsibility to a younger person, the team coordinator is the responsibility, she or he takes the responsibility of an area, then that person becomes accountable.
Right.
At times what happened, without giving the responsibility, you make that person accountable, that is not going to work.
Sure.
So responsibility and accountability, the performance or the learnings, those are going, partly. So at the same time, we have a very good bench strength. Like there are 300 plus executives who are having more than 5 years of experience in Pradhan. So 5 years of experience working in the rural community is not a small thing. Similarly, there are near about 50 professionals, more than 50 professionals who are having more than 25 years of experience in Pradhan. So that's a big number.
Yes.
And fortunately, we have been practicing this rotational leadership. So every 5 years, our management unit and this executive director rotates. So in that sense, I am the 9th ED of Pradhan. But before that, so there were 8 ED, executive directors. And when I became the executive director, so the previous 2 executive directors were working with me in the previous designation. So I think it's built a culture of excellence, culture of participatory culture plus leadership rotation. Non-threatening way of working the things. If something failed, then also it's okay actually. How we can learn from failure, the non-threatening atmosphere and then non-threatening way of dealing with the things happen. So we are bounded by a very strong culture. Confrontation as a value. Like many times we see, like in the leadership group, if there is a difference of opinion, then problem hota hai. But how you can deal with this difference of opinion and bring this confrontation as a value, so that if there is something under the surface, how they can be surfaced, and then probably jointly you can give solution to this. So I think these are the beauty of Pradhan actually. So we generally say that Pradhan is not an organization, it's an idea actually in that sense. And the institutional model is very unique. So when I discussed with this leadership rotation and then rotational policy with some of the corporates or say funding agencies, they do not believe this. So it happened, and then we are trying to stick to that.
So very interesting. You're also making a contribution to how we can actually lead large, sustainable, social impact organizations, not through one person ruling or one person having all the vision. is a collective, right?
collective decision making, and then the management. So there are various nodes, like at the state level, the state management committee is there. So they are responsible for all the state partnerships and then state operations. But when you have very detailed decentralized structure, that integration has to be very strong. So like our finance, accounts, all processes are very much decentralized, but at the same time they are very much integrated at the central level. So there are central functions. So all the functions have very much very good responsibility. Like HR function is there, then personnel unit is there, MEL function is there, and development engagement support unit is there. So all the resource mobilization unit is there. So they are anchoring the various functions, but at the same time, these operations are very much decentralized, but bounded by certain rules and then non-negotiables.
Well, I can in a way see how maybe Vijay Mahajan learned from IIM Ahmedabad, because Ravi Mathai, our first director, actually created some of those structures at IIM Ahmedabad as well, which have also continued. And yes, it's very nice to see even that being propagated or being practiced in real life. I have another question for you. In an organization that has been around for 43 years, I'm sure there have been some misses, or there have been certain times when we weren't going the way we wanted to go. Have there been such times, and when that has happened, how have we resurfaced back?
So like in every 5 to 7 years, so there has been a shift, you can say.
Okay.
So like initially we used to work with other organizations because there were very few people in the 1983 to 89. So we used to work with ASIFA and other organizations.
Okay.
Then we thought, okay, let's do the work directly. So we worked in Rajasthan and some Madurai in Bihar. So then we focused on this livelihood part. And then our mission was changed, like building people to build people, then impacting livelihoods to enable the rural communities. Every 5-6 years, we generally, because we have to be very much relevant with the present context, so accordingly we generally renew ourselves. So wonderful. This is number one. And so it's not like 43 year का पहले जो हमने सोचा था, core philosophy remains the same, but the approach and the way of dealing the things and the strategies are changing actually, but overall purpose is the same.
Right.
So this organization is very much mission driven and purpose driven, but at the same time very much flexible in the strategies. So like during the last 5-6 years, the partnerships with other civil society organizations and the government came in a very big way, because we used to think initially like we can do the things by our own and ये दूसरा कोई कर नहीं सकता है. And we are one of the most significant player in the entire ecosystem. But over a period of time, we realized we are a very small player in the big canvas. And there are many stakeholders in the entire ecosystem, which we need to do the partnership with them. So in that sense, the multi-stakeholder partnerships is very much critical for doing a large-scale transformation in the area. So such type of, things are evolving over a period of time. So we are working very closely with different government agencies, government department, their flagship program, and being with the system and then intervening in the system and influence the system accordingly, and working with the smaller CSOs to do a very good transformational work at the grassroots level to strengthen their systems and processes so that they can also get very good funding and then very good support from other agencies. So this has been some of the shift in the engagements in the recent last 7-8 years. So and some of the challenges are like when you are big and then so there are lots of expectations from other agencies. Like every day we are getting the invitation from other states. Like recently we started our operations in the Vidarbha region of Maharashtra. Then immediately we got the offer from Tripura, from Meghalaya, from Assam, and from UP, like you come and start work here. So it's not easy actually. So there has been lots of demand from the external stakeholder, but at the same time we are clear like it should not be like a light touch model, like abhi kiya aur abhi kaam kar diya. It should not be like that. Right. It should be a very intensive work, maybe a 15-20 years time frame. Then only changes are visible. Right. So that is why we have in our perspective plan we have demarcated the areas also. like which are the geographies we target, and then depending on the opportunities, we are expanding accordingly. So that is one thing. And second challenge is that like many a times when we talk about scale, generally people talk about what is the number and then impact
Correct.
in number what you are having.
Correct.
But the definition of scale that we are having is how deep is your what is the depth of your interventions. That is
Right.
also scale.
Right.
Suppose the household is having, instead of 2 activities, she is having 5 to 6 livelihood activities, and then she is getting, instead of 1 lakh rupees, she is getting 5 lakh rupees. So that is also scale.
Yes.
So the entire definition of scale is very different. So one is the horizontal expansion, and second is the depth of interventions. Matters a lot actually.
So, in the beginning, you had said that we're a learning organization. Your answer right now just seals that, right? How you have reinvented, how you've kept learning, and how you've kept going forward. So, great learning for all of us as to how to build such learning organizations. Thank you for, sharing so much in detail. My last question to you, Sarojji, is about, there are, I'm sure, some young people who are listening to this podcast, for people who you have good degrees and want to make choices to work in the rural sector. What kind of advice or what kind of thoughts would you share with them to help them make those choices?
So I have 2-3 suggestions. So one is I would like to say to all the young people, ऐसा तो हम भी young है. Yeah. So I think all the young people to come and explore the rural areas, and then to derive a meaning of what we are doing or what you will be able to contribute. Like people from IIM Ahmedabad, they can contribute a lot in this entire portfolio, like transforming the lives and livelihoods. And when we talk about livelihoods, it's not only about income, but it's all about the entire landscape actually. So how the ecosystem is changing, how community-centric, decentralized community actions can be leveraged, how various flagship program can be leveraged, what are the people level, system level and organizational level outcomes, and how we can intervene in a very systems perspective rather than one-to-one type of work. So I think these are some of the potential areas. I think young professionals can come and then they can work with Organisational like PRADAN or other NGOs to explore this overall development sector and rural development, because that is going to be when we talk about Viksit Bharat 2047, we should talk about the Viksit village and Viksit Panchayat also, and Viksit collectives. Then only it would fulfill the mission of Viksit Bharat 2047 when the collectives are very strong. Yes. And we need to define what is a strong collective. So there has been lots of evidence. And second point I would like to highlight is many a times, the external people and internally also in some of the Pradhanites, so they talk about what is our monitoring system, what is our evaluation system, how we can be more relevant. But I think the focus should be on the learning actually. So instead of the MEL system, we call them as the LME system. In the MEL system, the first point is monitoring. So then generally what happened is monitoring and evaluation become the prime focus. And learning becomes the secondary and tertiary. But if you say like LME system, where the learning is the major focus, measurement, evaluation and accountability comes in the later stage. So I think with a learning lens, if the young professionals can come and see the things, and then I think they can contribute a lot. Open-ended exploration, plus at the same time how they can contribute to the transformational journey of the rural community. I think that is my expectation from the young professionals.
Wonderful.
And obviously, all will not come to the rural development sector, but wherever they are going, I think all these broad contours and the principles should be, if they can at least work for, say, 2 years in the rural areas, maybe in a good organization, then I think this learning can be incorporated in whatever things they are doing, whether in government or public sector or, say, in university, in the course curriculum that you have highlighted. So all the learnings can be integrated, and that would definitely bring the more quality, more rigor, more excellence from all of us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time and your really detailed answers for the audience and for us. I don't know about anybody. I learned a lot, and I'm hoping that others have as well. And we wish you all the best with continuing to do the great work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.